So today I want to do a Boba Fett drawing that is going to look similar to the Stormtrooper drawing that I did a few days ago. So I have my initial sketch on here really lightly in blue pencil, and I'm going to use my mechanical pencil with HB lead to sort of start going over these lines and start adding the shadows. Um, so we're going to start with the dark middle part of this visor. And I'm going to start with that because obviously those shadows are going to be really dark, and that's going to allow me to use the smudge sticks to pick up some of the graphite and do some subtle shading on there. And this paper that I'm using is just cold press watercolor paper. It's 5 by 7 inches. And the difference, in case you're watching and you don't know, between cold press and hot press watercolor paper is actually the texture or the tooth of the paper. So cold press has a little bit more texture or tooth to it, as opposed to hot press, which is a little bit smoother. And to be honest, I actually kind of prefer hot press, but I'm running out of that paper, so I switched to cold press. So I'm just going over the lines for my initial sketch, right? And I want to keep looking at my reference photo because some of the things I want to add are maybe like a slight line in here, right, to give that like a highlight against that edge. That's going to be a nice detail. And I can color this in really dark and then just use an eraser to lift out some of the areas so it's not just one solid dark piece, right? But we sort of have to start somewhere. So this is where we're going to start. Right, so I want to try and keep these pencil strokes sort of smooth and even, because even though I'm going to blend them, they're going to blend a little bit better and easier and smoother if I color it in carefully as opposed to just sort of making a bunch of crazy dark lines. Right, and I'm going to do the same thing up here and just add that little bit of a highlight. And again, when I initially sketched this, I was thinking about how big I wanted the sketch to be. I was thinking about, where it was going to be placed on the page. What did I want to do with it? So I made it a little bit smaller and towards the top of the page so I can use that watercolor drip on it again. And I sort of wanted to leave some room to do that. And because this sketch is it's not that it's simple, but if you compare it to the Stormtrooper, for example, that sort of has some more details in the helmet, whereas this doesn't. So I'm going to want to add a lot more subtle shading details to make it look a little more interesting. And I don't know if this is coming across in the video, but by my smudging this, it makes it much, much smoother. And it looks much better. And interestingly enough, if you don't have smudge sticks, you can use like Q-tips in a pinch will also work. Okay, so now I want to go in and sort of add the rest of these lines in very carefully. And then I might actually just use my smudge stick to color the rest of this and just add some of the slight details in with pencil. And I'm turning this page a lot just because I want to keep the areas I've already colored away from the bottom of my palm so I don't smear the graphite everywhere. Which is a nice thing about working with just a loose piece of paper is I can do that. So I'm going to keep working on these lines and shading some of these darker areas in. And then in the next video, we'll talk about adding some of those details in here.